He's from Sedalia.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I've seen Hip Pocket. Yeah.
They have the best burrito style.
Yes, their Mexican food at Hip Pocket Pizza is fantastic. Their
That's
Mexican
what's
Hip
so
Pocket.
interesting.
I never stopped there. I remember we were
We're all talking food and I'm thinking more.
You can't get those in this town.
Is there nobody that
Tell me I went to Dry County.
Well, you can get it at Maple Street. You can get
Maple
it-
Street.
you can get it at
But it's closed today.
Yeah, it's closed
today.
Mondays and Tuesdays.
Yeah, so you're-
Story of my life.
You'll have to go to
I
a
come from
neighboring
nowhere
county.
to somewhere and I can't get it. Oh, well, I think I was telling me something.
All right. Well, let's get started here. This is going to be a tad shorter presentation than the other ones, but that's good because we'll be able to, as I said, jump into theirs. They're probably going to be, I don't know what product they're going to be on, but there's good information to be had in that final session. Running over a little bit in terms of Google Apps, but we kind of expected it because Google Apps is just such a large beast to have to wrangle with. It's, even larger than this whole Chromebooks thing, so it's not surprising. But tomorrow morning is when we're going to truly dive into then all the classroom activities, all the classroom integration, how you can actually take the Chromebook and actually start utilizing it with your students in the class. So just really quickly, I wanted to take a brief moment to talk about, how are we using Google Apps here at Dallas County? What kind of adoption are we seeing right now? From the best of my knowledge, staff and students just have limited access right now. I mean, John's been using it for email. Google Docs is open for, do all the staff members have accounts here for Google Apps? Not everyone?
They
Some
could if they wanted.
They could if they wanted them. Okay, so it's up to them, really.
We're trying to do our tech plan and using Google Docs and have the tech committee
Okay,
use it.
very nice.
Yeah, we
Very nice.
collaborate on documents.
And then we have a possibility of email being introduced at a later date with the product, which I really think will open up a lot more doors for us in terms of collaboration and how students can communicate. But it's a slow process. We're going to get there. It's an uphill climb, as I put up on the slide. And this Chromebook pilot is really going to be the first chance that we're getting on a large scale to be able to utilize all these great tools that Google's given us in a nice, fairly controlled environment with the students.
So are we the pilot?
We are the pilot. You are the pilot.
Yeah.
So do y'all have Chromebooks in your school?
We have one of our schools that has 2 classes with Chromebooks. Google gave us a chance
so we're
to.
a big.
This is kind of a big deal over here.
Okay,
Yeah. That's other district Leiden with the other video that we showed earlier. And KIPP Academy. Those are some other large districts. I talked to someone from Google who said that Renaissance Academy, I think in Texas or the Southwest, they are the largest. They are like all Chromebook now. That's all they use. It's Chromebooks. So, and supposedly they're not having that many issues. So I'm hoping that resonates and moves down.
Derrick and Kane is going to give you a little insight on that as far as Desi's relationship, or really MoreNet's relationship with Google. And in Missouri, Google has now partnered with MoreNet, which is
They basically provide internet service for 500 school districts in Missouri, something like that.
And Google's what? Google's offering
Google's
Chromebooks through
partnering-
this?
No,
Or?
Google.
They're certified Google trainers,
Oh, okay.
and they're offering Google Apps and Ed.
Oh,
And
so okay.
MoreNet works
Okay.
through Mizzou. They're also, they're what, all school and library
Yeah, all
in the
school
state
library in the
of
state.
Missouri.
Okay.
Most schools and libraries get their internet service.
But basically,
And the
Google
whole
has got a big push in Missouri now,
Yeah.
and so all of our tech training coming up in the spring all seem to be sponsored by Google.
Yeah,
Are they coming out here to do Google Apps
They're doing
training?
a big thing in Kansas City with MoreNet in the spring conference.
Because you said February was something was going on, right?
Yeah, that's locally in Springfield.
Okay.
But in March,
Was it March when that panel thing is
Yeah.
in Kansas City?
Well, it sounds like they're definitely doing a big push, and this is all trickling down from the whole, the way the federal government's looking at the cloud. I mean, President Obama signed in this initiative. I think it was just a year or a little bit more ago that where federal government has to look at cloud initiatives first, legacy systems second. So this is really a big deal to
I
everyone.
also signed up for rural places to get internet, and I'm still waiting. I mean, if you don't get HughesNet or Wild Blue,
Exactly. Yeah.
for $90 a month.
Is that how much it is
No,
to get the service?
I think it's
60
starting
to
9.
50. Yeah, I think it
We paid
starts at
80 when we had
50,
it.
but if you have a
We had one
teenager,
too.
that doesn't get you much. much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, internet access is still a big issue in the U.S., and that's why I'm really hoping that this 3G that they're offering on the Chromebooks is, helps us more than hurts us, and hopefully it'll be nice, especially if the kids do start utilizing it the way that we're intending them to, and don't eat through that bandwidth on YouTube videos. So we'll see. It's a new realm for everyone still.
Maybe we need to have them, show us their work compared to what they've used up. Okay, this much. You should have this much done.
Well, that's one thing. I don't think there's any way for the administrators to watch how much is being used. So this is something they're going to have to manage.
I mean, when they've used their whatever a month, are
I
we
can't
gonna
answer
get
that.
bills?
I can't answer that exactly.
Like,
I'm
is
guessing.
that credit card gonna then get billed for their
Yeah,
operation?
What I'm guessing is that it's going to probably pop something up on the screen. You're going to not be able to go to any websites, and it's going to say you have used up your allotment. Authorized charges for extra data allowance.
Yeah.
So
That's
I don't know.
Question. Like kids that get cell phones and $3,000 bill later.
Well, here's the thing I'm worried about is that say John gives a credit card for you to get your whole class up on 3G, and the kids are just allowed to go over that quota, the 100 meg, and just say, hey, I'll take another $50 plan per device per month, and there's no stopping them from doing that.
Well,
so.
my hunch was, is that when we send them home, basically, their internet access would be basically maybe to upload documents to Google Docs. I think you're going to have to, because of the how much data you're allowed to have through that plan, you're greatly going to have to restrict that. Because like you said, just in a 10-minute session on YouTube, they can eat that up like that.
Exactly.
But if we locked it down to say,
Just Google.
Just Google. Basically, work on calendar.
Sure,
Google,
you can do that. And that's where that filter comes into play. So you block everything and just allow Google Docs or something else.
Collaborate, allow them to
Collaborate
collaborate
classroom,
in the house.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that might be a way
Those
to
things-
do that. But then realize that that's the same restriction they're going to have when they're in the classroom. So if you're okay with always having that restriction, unless you're going to go in there and turn it on and off on a daily basis, there's no way to schedule it. So you're going to have to say, you're doing this at school and home.
Much. I mean, it may be, a couple projects a year thing that they actually take them home.
Okay.
Man, that would be nice if you could schedule it during school day hours than after school.
Mm-hmm. And that might be something we suggest to them. Can we put up a
Give
schedule
it
where...
Yeah, a calendar, date and time. Sort of
Exactly.
We
thing.
could do it on Google Calendar. Like, you really could. I mean, we had a presentation from an air conditioner system the other day, and the way you controlled the air conditioner system was through Google Calendar.
That's
Look
awesome.
at that. Interesting.
That's scary.
I mean, when you wanted the heaters to
I
come
love
on the ball
Google
game,
Calendar.
you booked
Just
it on.
love it.
That's all I use.
Put on Google Calendar to kick in at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, like if the Shoemaker Center was having a event that night, you put on the calendar and automatically know that goes and exploits the data to turn on the heater and the lights.
Wow.
What if you're there and
The lights go off?
They have an override button.
okay?
Basically, your light switch becomes an override, which is basically
You
an
use
hour
your
you
phone
have.
flashlight app.
Exactly. Well, you can't turn the lights on at Shoemaker right now unless you have the appropriate tool anyway. I mean, you can't on stage,
Elster?
but you can on
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
you can't in the lobby. Or the, not the lobby, the theater,
But
or
it
the
probably
seating area.
doesn't take much to
Wait.
get it to them.
No.
I mean, I'm sure I could give me a
I can do a
couple days.
paperclip.
Okay, I would say give me a while and I'll have a tool.
The whole world can install with a paperclip.
One of the things I'm going to talk about in this presentation is a big factor of getting this Chromebook project to be successful, both at this district here and your district, is getting that user buy-in. The kids really are going to have to care about the devices, obviously, but care about using the product in a way that is responsible, not just for goofing around, that is actually for classroom activity, and feeling that involvement so that this tool can be used by teachers and students don't just feel that it's just another laptop cart that we're dumping in their hands for browsing google.com, where they're actually forced, not forced, but they're allowed to go ahead and do the kind of things that we necessarily didn't do with technology before. So I actually wanted to show a quick video. This is a really good video that another school district did. I believe these guys are from Iowa, Clear Creek Middle School in Iowa. And actually, this is a great example of a district that I believe they're just getting into Chromebooks, but they've had the Google Apps penetration already, and they really have a great level of buy-in from the students and staff. And I just want to show you what kind of situation, what kind of environment they have at this district. So I'm going to show you this quick video.
Oh, isn't that cool, Tam? It's just bizarre how they built that. I mean, how that downtown looks.
I don't know what point in the video they tell you this, but this Creek Squad thing is a playoff of Geek Squad, obviously, and these students are pretty much a student support team that go out and they train the staff and students in this school on how to use Google Apps. We don't even have any kind of program like this in our district. This is where we want to get to be, but this is just an example of the kind of ways that we can get students engaged in helping one another, helping other staff members, and fostering this kind of root of acceptance of the product, where everyone is everyone is pulled up and everyone is given a chance to utilize it and get a feel for it. So just have a look. I really think you'll find this quite interesting.
Over the summer, we were invited to go and officially start a group, and it just kind of transformed from there.
The Creek Squad is our frontline IT support and our #1 support for Google applications.
They answer questions, they solve problems.
I just walk in and I learn something new every time I work with those kids.
These kids are almost like a little bit of celebrities.
You learn something much, much more when you have to teach it.
From training secretaries to use Google Docs and Google Calendar, I then realized teachers always complain about how students don't pay attention, but the adults are like just as bad.
The teachers or whoever else we're teaching are like, oh my gosh, I got a picture on my site. And I think it's funny to see their reaction to how simple it is.
School was so much different before we used Google. It was slow. Everyone was kind of impatient with our computers. We couldn't find our files, and everyone was just mad. And when we started using Google, we could just work on anything anywhere we wanted.
They're not intimidated by it at all. The ideas that they have on how to integrate it within their curriculum are amazing. They're like, well, we can create this project and then share it with our teacher, and then they can give us immediate feedback and we can revise it.
The students' collaboration with each other, it's amazing.
The students have had the opportunity to practice those 21st century skills, and then these skills that they're working with, they can transfer out in the real world. They've been out to one district. I have another district interested in having these guys come in and work with them as well.
We wanted to go to other schools and say, look, Claire Humana was able to pull this off with 6th, 7th, 8th grade students that are really engaged, really empowered in their own learning. How can we use these kids to teach other kids?
I measured the success of the Creek Squad by the number of 7th graders that signed up to be a part of this program for next year, and people that are very, very curious about what we're doing.
The 11 of us separate, we all have vast amounts of knowledge. If you put us together, it's one big, giant stew pot of resources.
So there you go. Who would have thought that the first level support for Google Apps at a school district would be a group of 7th graders? But this district made it happen, and this is an example of where you get students engaged. I really think they are willing and they have the motivation to do things like this, as long as we give them the ability and the willpower to do so.
That's cool.
That is
and
cool,
that grade is just the perfect grade
age,
for Google Apps.
I mean, imagine if they're doing it at the 7th grade level. I can only imagine how the high school is probably starting. These kids are probably coming in. They already have this knowledge. So as John was asking, how do we handle students like that? Hopefully that question becomes less and less important, because at the middle school level, they're already getting introduced to it. And when they come into high school, they don't have to get retrained. They already have that knowledge instilled in them.
Kids already telling teachers how to do YouTube and stuff.
I mean, we had secretaries being trained by a bunch of 13-year-olds. So
they'd probably be more patient with them than I am.
All right.
That's a great idea.
That is awesome.
And that's just one idea, one way that another district did it. I'm not saying that this is how we have to do it here. It's not going to work for everyone, but the real question you have to ask yourself is, how can we duplicate that kind of motivation? How can we duplicate that involvement and buy-in from the students and staff here at Dallas County? One of the first things that is most important, and one of the most important key factors that I've noticed the districts that have gone to the Chromebooks, is the fact that the administrators have to be the ones, taking the lead on this. And one of the things that I've seen a lot of them do is, the administrators first were the ones given Chromebooks before teachers even had them. And they were using them, for a period of time, for a few weeks, to see, what kind of experience is this? If I want my teachers to be using this in the classroom with their students, what is it that they're using? How does this technology work? Will it function the way that we need it to? And while that can definitely be answered by people in a technology role such as myself or teachers, I think if the administrators aren't on board, are the teachers really going to be following lead? And I don't believe they are. So the higher ups definitely have to help ease the transition in with a new technology like this. If we have a school that's just primarily using laptop carts or just computer labs, introducing a model where kids are going to be potentially taking devices home, this is a big difference. This is something that we haven't done before, and there's going to be a lot of unknowns that go into this. But we just have to roll with the changes. We have to be able to communicate the benefits of how these Chromebooks are going to help Dallas County. Especially since these devices, as we all know, they're brand new. No one's been able to use them previously. We have to be able to go ahead and find out, okay, how are we going to use these devices in the classroom and show all the other teachers that may be involved in this and all the students, what it is that these devices have to offer. And a lot of those tools are going to be what Michael's going over right now and tomorrow morning in showing us how these can be utilized in the class. And another important thing is that we have to look for feedback from teachers that are more on the technical nature. Let's figure out what are the gaps in terms of what the Chromebooks can do. I mean, a lot of it I described today, the printing issues, the 3G issues, the Wi-Fi issues. There's going to be more things that come up down the road. We need to find out what those are, get that feedback, find out, are there answers from Google? Do we need to get different solutions to fill these different gaps? Or do we need to just mold and structure our lesson plans or activity plans around these different things? We can't get the best of both worlds always. There have to be compromises, and this is just one of those ways where we're going to have to say that this can't be done, that can't be done, but we will find a way eventually. We were talking about why people don't like new technology previously, and it's just a fact of life. We don't, as humans, like to have new technology implemented, and there's many reasons for this. The first of them is that users themselves do tend to get overlooked in the process. When you have, I'm not ranting at administrators, but a lot of times administrators, don't truly know how the users themselves are going to be utilizing it. And I think one of the ways of, as I said previously, having the administrators using these Chromebooks first, having them see what it is the user is going to be having to deal with if we have Chromebooks now for at least 1 year going forward. What is it that these kids are going to be going to be using in the classroom? They get it first to have a look at it. So when it's time for the users to get their hands on it, there's that push to keep this technology moving forward. Proper training. This is very, very important. This is why even at our district 207. A lot of things fumble. We have a very clunky, junky website administration tool. None of the teachers like it updating their website. If I had to guess, I would say that probably no more than 25% of teachers even remember their password for how to log into the website administration to update their official class pages. And well, the underlying reason is that most of them are using Google Sites now. It's kind of funny. It's an unwritten rule that a lot of teachers are just doing Google Sites, and they ask us, hey, link my class page to this Google site, and they don't even care about using the official website tool.
Dreamweaver, are you?
What was that?
Dreamweaver?
We used it a few years ago, yeah. Up until about 07, we were using Dreamweaver. But then 07, we had a new website put in. It's not the easiest to use. It was made for techie people, not for teachers, and that's why it's not even used. We don't put much training on it. in terms of showing the teachers how to use it. So it's really a tool that's been neglected. And it's kind of good that teachers are picking up Google Sites to fill in that gap, but that's an example of where proper training was definitely an afterthought for us. And likewise, it's a product that most people wish would just go away. Another thing is that issues tend to get neglected. Sometimes people don't take feedback to heart, and we don't try to get these changes implemented. So, any kind of issues that you come across on the Chromebooks, that's why I said it's important that we collect feedback, as we're doing today. We have a Google moderator going, we're collecting all these questions, and let's see if someone can get these answered for us. Because if they don't get answered, they're just going to sit there, they're going to linger, and the kids are probably going to be more frustrated than we are, banging our heads against the wall in terms of, why 3G isn't working or why this isn't functioning for us. Involvement among users is rarely encouraged. Going back to my website example, administration doesn't push our teachers or anyone to become involved or educated about the website, how to update the website, how to use it. And likewise, if you go to any of our web pages that are still using the website system, they all blank. Almost no teachers update their pages. There's no homework being posted onto it. It's like a ghost graveyard, if you want to say that. And one of the other things is that change doesn't usually bring improvement for the end user. Hopefully this Chromebook program does. I mean, hopefully the features and the tools that we're going to show off allow teachers and students to utilize technology in a better way than we're used to. But a lot of us in the back of our minds know that, if we think about all the different technology improvements in quotes, that we've been handed over the years, not everything has gone smoothly, and if it didn't bring tangible change, tangible improvement for someone, they're not going to think about it as positively. that buy-in does have to get fostered right from the beginning. Here's an interesting thing. I was doing some research on this, and I found out that there was a very good book written by Michael Hammer. It's called The Agenda. It has to do with more so, change management and things in the enterprise realm and big business. But there's this myth of people that are implementing technology always want to get 100% acceptance from everyone. And I kind of knew this, going in, that this, wasn't true. But if you think about it, if you have this big project like, implementing Google Apps or implementing a new piece of website software, you believe that, well, everybody has to be on board. But the truth of the matter is that you're not going to get everyone. There's a 20-60-20 rule that goes into this, and he laid it out pretty well in this book. But he pretty much says that 20% of users are going to enthusiastically embrace these new devices. So that's the 20% we don't have to worry about. They're going to take this technology. They know how to use Google Apps already. They're very familiar with laptop technology. They're very comfortable using the web and the cloud. So that's a crowd we don't have to worry about. We have this other 20% that we're not going to change. They're going to be skeptics. No matter what we try to do, they're going to come back and say, I don't want to use it. I know one teacher in particular. We hand out laptops to all the different teachers in our district, and there is one teacher, she's on the brink of retirement, and for the last 2 years, she hasn't even pulled her staff laptop out. She's skeptical about it. She says every time she's tried it, it doesn't work. She lets it sit in a bag. I mean, the day we gave it to her, she took it in its bag, and she put it into her metal cabinet. She says, I'm keeping it there just because you guys tell me I have to keep it there. That's an example of that 20% that we're not going to change, their perception no matter what. She'll sit down at the desktop computer, just do, enter grades and do those few basic things. But when it comes time to come to staff meetings, bringing her laptop with her, she just always claims she forgot it. So, and the 60% that we are most concerned about, these are the ones that we want to show this leadership to. We want to go ahead and get feedback from them, train them, support them. These are the people that are sort of on the edge. They don't have that buy-in yet with the product yet. They're sort of, they're interested in the Chromebook, but they've never used it before. But they think it might be a scary experience. This is that crowd, that middle section that we're most concerned about training, supporting, and getting them to have this buy-in on the Chromebook pilot. Big point number 2, teachers first and then students second. we have to go ahead and create some initial resources for not only the staff members, but for students as well, because, as I said, what good does it do if we roll a cart in with a bunch of Chromebooks sitting on it? The teacher doesn't know what to do with it. Students don't know what to do with it. The administrators are just saying, use it. It doesn't do us any good, right? So, as I said, from the top down, starting with administration, going on to teachers next. The teachers have to be on board. They have to have that enthusiasm. As I put up here, they need to be able to play with those Chromebooks first. So before, maybe a whole month or two before the kids are going to be getting these devices, let's get the teachers working together, finding out how they can manipulate, how they can change their course material, their project plan, their lesson plans over, and start to utilize the Chromebooks, because I'll tell you what, you can do all you want, you can prod teachers all you want, but just dumping this in the classroom on day one when they want kids to start using them, it's not going to be a nice transition, I'll tell you that. We have to train with the students as well. The teachers have to be the ones that are leading in the classroom. Obviously, if the kids are to be working with teachers throughout lessons and working on projects and collaborating, the teachers need to be the ones that are helping these kids along. And we have to keep the communication channels open. Let's let the teachers come out and say what they really feel about this product. I don't want to see a situation happen, as our district did with our very poorly managed website situation, where everyone was just saying, we have it needs to be used. We don't want to hear bad things you have to say about it. It's going to be there no matter what. If you don't allow people to give you that feedback, the honest truth about how something's working, the different gripes they're having about it, the caveats to using it, the things the students are running into, that's where we're going to run into an environment where these things are going to stop being brought out on the student desk every day. They're going to be kept in the backpack. And that's exactly what we don't want to see. Number 3, strong professional development is going to definitely lead to better Chromebook usage. So what aspects are we having the most troubles with in terms of the Chromebooks? As we saw, first off on today, in terms of wireless, maybe we need to have a little education in terms of the staff and making sure that they're aware of all these different problems with the wireless in the Chromebooks. The fact that students aren't going to go home in 3G and be on YouTube all day and expect to have enough internet juice left to be able to upload their classroom assignment, for the teacher for class tomorrow before they get to school. So these are some of the things we need to think about in terms of how we're going to structure professional development for the Chromebooks. As I said earlier, 20th century assignments, all of our lesson plans are probably filled with these assignments that were made for a time when, computers weren't supposed to be in the classroom on a day-to-day basis. Well, the Chromebook is turning that theory on its head. The Chromebooks are going to be in the classroom. As we saw in the videos, kids are going to be using them. They're going to be doing different kinds of projects with them. They're going to be engaging others at the same time online, and we need to figure out how our lesson plans are going to be changed over and converted to keep up with this leap in technology in the classroom. And just as you saw with the Creek Squad, what they're doing with their students right now in terms of having a student squad that's educating all the different staff and students, that might be a little more advanced, a little jumping the gun for what we could have over here. But even as simple as something like a weekly Chromebook discussion group. Maybe all the teachers that are involved with the Chromebooks get together once every maybe 2 weeks and just talk about what issues they're having, what problems are their students having with this. I can't get the Chromebook to do this with my lesson plans. How can I convert this project to utilize Google Docs? These kinds of things to help keep everyone moving forward and get everyone on board so that no one feels left behind. Like, I can't do this, I can't do this. That means I'm going to pull back and just revert to my traditional lesson plans for everything. Obviously, that's going to create a situation where the Chromebooks are going to be merely a email and YouTube browsing device, and we don't want that. I put up here 20 minutes. Disregard the time on that. I just wanted to get a few ideas shared, and this will primarily help everyone out here. What kind of material do you think that students and teachers are going to need here to make this program successful? What do you feel would be a good way to go ahead and provide the kind of training and resources that we're going to need.
Well, depending on what they do in the classroom, and I realize that we're working with comm arts and math here, is that even though our students may be tech savvy, used word processors before and things like that, I still think they're going to need some kind of introduction, probably not as lengthy as what Mike's doing next door, but to even Google Docs, in Laura's classes, and she's a math instructor, maybe even the spreadsheet program. I mean, depending on what, I still think we're going to need an introduction to it, and I think in some aspects we're going to have to do with the kids what eventually we staff members are going to have to do, and that is basically saying this is your Word doc, this is your, this is the way you word process in the district from now on, or at least in these classes, and if that means that a student would work on a Google Doc, save it, and then maybe the next period they're in the library where they actually have a regular PC type operating system, the ability to know how to download that and open it in Word.
They don't have to though. I mean, that's the nice thing about
They don't
this.
have
that
to.
experience is seamless.
I know they don't.
Remember
have
when I
to.
said Chrome is the same and these Google app products are the same on a Windows machine, on a Mac machine, and a Chromebook?
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, let's say, for example, I'm teaching a business class,
Okay.
and there are certain applications in Word, Excel,
Sure,
and things like that that are not included in this package. I do it all the time in Excel. I can't figure out how to use Excel, and so I'll go through and enter the data in the Google spreadsheet program, save it back to Excel, and then I'll send it to somebody in Excel that knows how to mail merge and everything, whatever they got to do, and things like that, applications that are not part of that. So there are certain parts of our curriculum that you will still have to have Microsoft Word capability in our business classes, and same thing with Excel capabilities that maybe working in this type of setting to maybe well, like for example, a spreadsheet program, just doing data entry, this would be appropriate. But the advanced steps that you can do in Excel, not available. That still doesn't mean that just because you don't have Excel at home, doesn't mean that you can't do the data entry.
Exactly. And that's where you would obviously have to set up your class and structure where you would have the kids do what they can do within the Google Docs. For example, like in your mail merge example, the kids would set up their data properly, they would format everything the way it has to be, and then they would go ahead and they can easily export or download that from Google Docs once they get to a Windows machine and work with it, do what they need to do, mail merge, do that function, and then if they need to, there's any data needs to go back into Google Docs, they can bring that right back in.
And then even the process of and I really don't know how students, Laura, how do students save documents now that they come and would use in the library or whatever? Do they save them on a USB drive? Or they do it on a jump drive. So the idea of no matter what program, there may be exceptions of where you can't save to Google, but I've not found one yet.
Well, you can save. You don't have to convert. You can save files.
Yeah.
You can take any file. And put it
And
up.
that's the nice part is you can use it as a sharing repository for
Yeah.
almost any kind of document. PDFs we shared our district, straight Word documents. We don't convert them. We just want to keep them as Word docs.
Yeah,
you can share
just put it
anything.
up
Media
there.
files within there. It's very versatile.
So that even just changes the paradigm of how you're saving documents, even if you're not using Google. I mean, as far as Google Docs and Google Spreadsheet.
Are students ever required to digitally submit a document or file of any sort here at the district?
No.
Is there any kind of situation
Other
that's
than
needed?
probably our business labs.
Yeah, business would be it.
How do they do it right now? I'm just curious.
They
Flash
have,
drives?
They
or-
have flash drives. School issue
But
flash
okay,
drives. and
how
that's
do they
sign
learn
number.
to do that? I mean, somewhere along the way, you're teaching them how to do what they're doing now. So this is
They're learning-
going to be the same thing.
Most of the classes they're learning it within their business class or within their word processing class, which I believe we teach word processing 8th grade. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying, it even forces, even though we keep talking about kids being digital native, we still need to provide them some kind of instruction on how to think differently. To be honest with you, because the school district's been holding them back. We've been holding them back. We haven't been able to accept, writing assignments and being able to, edit them electronically and send them back.
And that's part of the issue. A lot of our middle schoolers are so ingrained with having to type in Microsoft Office and print out everything they make. So when they're brought into a class and the teachers are saying, you're going to Google Doc this and you're going to share it with me as your submission, it is foreign to them, but once that culture gets ingrained, as we were saying, and these kids become doing this on a daily basis, it's going to be easier, and they're going to like it a lot more than having to run to the library, get that printout because teacher needs it, for third period.
Well, what I've noticed, we started the Google apps this year, and like I said, last year a lot of our teachers were using Gmail just because of other problems, but we have a couple teachers that, from the start, last year they liked Google Docs. And our classes are small enough that we gave all of our high school kids a Gmail account and gave the teachers so we knew what classes the kids had, that all of the kids would have. So we had those teachers work with them to try to get them signed in on just our laptops. And then those kids that couldn't, or the high school kids that didn't have that, Emma was out there a couple days, said, hey, I'll be in the lab, send the kids that want to, and she worked with them on that. And then we have a couple teachers that have been doing the Google Docs, and they understand it, so they've worked with their class, so that kind of hit a little bit of the kids. And then a couple of the other teachers kind of, well, that sounds neat that you did that, and you didn't have to take those stacked papers home, so then that teacher kind of showed the next teacher, and it just kind of started to spread, and it's just, and then we've even had classes where the kids who were in her class taught this teacher how to do it.
Oh yeah, I think that's
it's just you find a teacher or two, and then it just sort of
That
spreads.
is my prayer. My prayer is that the 4 classroom teachers that we're working with here, you will be so highly successful, so progressive, that the 400 kids that are taking your classes will infect the rest of the staff. That's my hope. That's my hope is that they'll have Laura and math, and then next year they won't have Laura and math. They'll say, hey, wait a second. How come we're back in 1982 here? Because the last year we were in the 21st century, and now we're I'm hoping that's
We threw Google Apps, the whole training at all of our teachers, and only a couple of them caught the bulk of it. So then we broke it down last time and said, just come teach sites. Or we did documents and calendars.
And that's really the way I recommend handling these different products.
Because the way people can catch it, but
the way we're hitting it hard, today and tomorrow is not 100% ideal. I mean, the way we generally recommend doing it, Docs over a 3-day time span, Gmail over a 3-day time span. You can't cram these kind of heavy-hitting products all into a 1 or 2 day time.
And it depends on your teachers. I know a lot of our younger teachers are like, okay, got it. All right, we'll move on. It's just. And
another thing is that one thing I've noticed in my district is, for example, my English teachers, language arts teachers, big hesitation there was to get into Google Docs. They were sort of, keeping it on the down low in terms of, why it was that they didn't like or didn't want to try out the Google Docs way of doing things. And, things I heard then were, well, it doesn't have all the menus in Microsoft Word. And I said, well, 98% of what your kids need to do are already in Google Docs. And they said, well, I can't, I still need to print it because I can't digitally grade it. And we went and showed them how to go ahead. You can digitally grade. You can mark up all these documents and send an email right back to the student saying, hey, I've graded your assignment. Changes are in red. Markup is in red. Your grade is this. And we're done. And nothing had to be printed out. No stack of papers had to be brought home. And their eyes finally opened. When we filled these gaps in terms of what they thought they couldn't do and what they really could do, that's when they really opened their ears and said, wow, this is really an intriguing product. I really can utilize this.
We had one teacher that tore about losing papers. He's like, I know I turned it in. It's here, it's here, it's here. So this is all. She can't lose it.
Well, that's about everything in technology. Just last month, it was the first month our paychecks in the Dallas County R1 school district weren't transmitted to the bank via a floppy drive.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not kidding you. Just last month, Tony knows all about that. What you're doing. Brenda to this day thinks a thumb drive or digital media of any other sort is some kind of witch doctor's voodoo device that is going to bring down either the end of the world or whatever. But I'm sure she probably hit Tony about how do I get a floppy installed back on this computer. It's just part of that learning curve.
Yeah, when we switched from Microsoft Works to Word, it was like, but can I get works? No.
Brenda came in
Sorry,
the other day
burned
2
it.
times to have me check her thumb drive to make sure that there was something on it. And like, it was right her bonkers. Anyway, but I mean, and she'd done it on floppy disk since, you know, Reagan was president. But for whatever reason, it was driving her crazy. Yeah, it's probably the Dylan's grocery store. But it's just hard. It's just hard. It's a leap of faith. It requires change. Many times, I'm not saying that people are, but many times it involves additional work to start with.
It does.
It does. Yeah. So.
What about the management aspect of the classroom? And I'm not talking about discipline and that kind of thing. I'm just talking about there's the how-to on actually how to use the Google Docs. But then there's, okay, how do I organize my classroom, my homework assignments, my class schedule?
That's a good point.
There might be a little more, I know they boot up quickly, but there might be some wireless issues, so how do I keep the kids on task? While I'm
these are things that are growing pains. These are things that we're going to have to figure out. I mean, I don't have all the answers for all these things. I mean, there are solutions. There are things to go ahead and remediate a lot of these different problems that you're discussing, such as the Wi-Fi issues that still exist on here, and a lot of it's still being worked out by Google. But a lot of it we're going to have to figure out how to get around it. A lot of things don't have a clear-cut answer for how to do this or how to do that, and this is where creativity comes into play from the teacher's aspect.
Well, I teach a night course at Missouri State University, and I only have 20 some odd students in the class, and it is complicated for me to keep track of my 22. Nevertheless, if I'm Laura over there sitting with probably 140 some odd or whatever she's got that day, I know that just the management. Nevertheless, I've got all 22 people taking the same class over a semester. She's got probably 7 different classes, Laura, or whatever.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know how to keep them separated by period. To say this is my first period file folder, this is my second period file folder, and I sure wouldn't want it to where, as it's submitted to me electronically, I've got to remember that John Turner's got me third period, and I've got to drop it. I mean, if that could.
And this is where Google Docs comes into play. I know I didn't go over this the sessions we've been in, but Michael's been going over how to store what are called collections in Google Docs. So you can make folders and then subfolders within Google Docs and organize all of your class's work like that in a digital box, just like you would if you had paperwork. You'd have to put it into a folder as well. Well, you have a digital folder within Google Docs to store all that.
And then as the assignments are submitted, it already drops into your third period file or whatever, or do you have to do it?
You would have to drop it in. There's no automatic drop-in like that just yet. But I'm sure that they're working on it, because I know I've read that online that has been a gripe of teachers that are using Google Apps.
So just that paper shuffle. I mean, at least now if I'm shuffling papers, they're all giving me my papers in this period at this time. If I'm getting them electronically.
Well, and here's the nice part. It's all time-stamped. You're going to see exactly when it was submitted. You can't have a student say...
I'm just saying as far as the organization.
This is where you make them title it, just like you usually have them, put this second period, whatever. Your file title is third hour, grow plants.
I guess that's true.
You go in, you tell them to have all their work submitted, you sit down, you log into your Google Docs, you see everything that's submitted in there. If you don't have that, if you don't check off and see that student submitted that work, it's just like if you didn't submit the paper copy.
You just have to. You just have to know.
It's not very elegant. We use Blackboard at the university level, and if they're missing, I mean, it drops it automatically in my gradebook for me and all this other stuff. And it's very elegant as far as if assignment's been submitted.
And Blackboard is, I will say this, in Google's defense, Blackboard is a much more advanced learning management system. And Google Apps does have some tie-ins with similar kind of products like Ngrade, where they take that kind of control and drop in and making everything nice between class periods and take it to the next level. So while Google Apps doesn't strictly offer that, because Google Apps is a product that...
There is a third-part market, and what's that called again?
The product I'm talking about is called Ngrade. Ngrade, yeah. And they offer similar functionality to what Blackboard does, but it's totally free.
But it runs through Google. I mean, Google is...
Yeah, they're totally connected. So Ngrade, as I was showing you those services that we have turned on, Ngrade becomes a service within your Google Apps. They tie right in. You have one login because it considers your Google Apps login as your login to the Ngrade portion. It's very seamless. I haven't personally worked with it very much, but I've talked to a few people that have, and they really like it, especially for the price tag of free. It's probably one of the better learning management products out there.
And I use Student Information Systems.
SIS K-12.
How does that work? Does that have capability of students dropping in homework and stuff like that, or is this strictly for managing attendance and grades and things?
I don't think it does it?
No.
No.
It's just a grade. It's just an attendance.
It's just a
Parent portal.
kind of a data. It's just
But ideally, something like an end grade would take over that functionality. You would, if you did this, you'd be able to drop that and just use Google Apps and something like end grade and have one solution where there's one login and everything's almost in one spot.
More than that, but you could at least use it to use for SIS, because SIS is a whole student data.
It handles all our
It's a student
Lunch.
data. It goes straight.
But I'm saying that there are districts that have gone this route.
Right,
They have Google
right.
Apps. They're heavy in Google Apps. They didn't want to have all these logins for these separate, systems like that. So they went with a learning management product like Ngrade that ties right in, and teachers are logging into their email while they're logging into SIS, while they're logging into their assignment area.
I just don't know. Of course, I'm dealing with college-age kids, but what is frustrating is that once they get your email, they continue to want to just send you their assignments via email.
Really?
Because if they're using Blackboard or whatever, it does involve them uploading the assignment and everything else like that. So they want to email it to me. So in one particular day, I may have, depending on, I may have 40 submitted to me.
But do you allow them?
Email.
Do you
I
stick
used
to them?
to,
Do you allow them?
I used to, but I don't anymore. I say, if you can't figure out how to run Blackboard, you don't need to be taking an online course. Students are taking it. And because it's just easier. Okay.
Exactly.
Ms. Copeland, I've got your email address. I'm going to email that to you. And, okay. Well, then you get to a point where you're trying to pull everything down, download, get it loaded to the right place, and
well, you know what? With Google Docs, I mean, it's pretty much is as easy. It's easier than doing an email.
Yeah.
You're working on your document. You have a button right on your screen that says share, and you share it with the teacher.
Yeah.
You don't even have to log into your email. I don't see how that would be harder to do than sending an email.
And when you're in absent ed, I don't know, but the emails all show up. I mean,
Exactly.
I type in
You know when something
Betty,
is shared
and
with you.
anybody who starts first, last name, anything just comes up, and you click that one.
I know, but
just
it's
all there.
I know. But even if somebody wrote a timestamp on everything else like that, when they dump it in that box up there to me, it's just the process of I've got to go back and retouch all that stuff in order to figure out which period it's going to.
And that's where I agree that there is still that little hole where Google needs to figure out, okay, how can teachers manage students submitting assignments over Google Docs in a way that it's automatically organized by period. Maybe you can set which students are in what class, and that dumps all their assignments into folders. That is an obvious loophole or gap that we see.
Because Blackboard takes it to the next step, and is that when the assignment is submitted, I mean, I can go through and see under my grade book or whatever they call it, all the ones that have submitted the assignments and all those that haven't. And if I want to if I want to grade the assignment, I just click on that assignment, pulls it up, I enter the grade, it dumps it right in the grade book.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
So Google Docs pretty much does everything except the automatic organization of the assignments.
Yeah.
So
drops
Put that
in
note in. When are you
well, it drops
going
like a
back
spreadsheet. Trust me, somebody can figure that out through Google Spreadsheet to go through and say, here's the assignment submitted, it's going to dump it in. I just know that they can figure it out. Just not me. I'm the one that can always complain about it. I can just never solve the problem. That's my job. I'm the kvetch.
And you're really good at it.
Now you guys figure it out. You're really good at it.
Hey, I don't work for
Hey,
it,
you
I
figure it
can
out.
say.
Get back to it.
But that's a cool idea. We like that. Y'all ask Steve or whatever his name is. When
someone's
is this
put it
coming?
in the moderator. We'll ask him later on.
Turns into a letter of retirement. Not an option. Hey.
Yeah. Can't call me anymore. I'm not coming back.
Not accepted. Yeah.
Exactly.
See, Google Docs, it was denied. I don't think, can you deny in Google Docs?
It was not submitted. It got lost in paperwork.
Denied.
Point number 4, we need to realize that we need to learn from mistakes, and the fact that we need to ensure that take successes piece by piece, and let's make sure that while there will be spots that we have issues with, let's also realize that a lot of things are going to go hopefully pretty well. Likewise, no rollout is ever going to go 100%. Issues are going to occur. We have to teach the students to be able to overcome these different aspects. We need to go ahead and utilize some of the tools that Google Apps offers, like tracking usage of the devices, and I'm actually going to go in part of this and show you how to utilize the control panel, not only to manage these things, but also they have nice reports that show you, how are students and staff using Google Docs or Google Calendar, Google Sites. Is this product really being used? And if there is a product that's not being used as heavily, what are the reasons behind that? So I'm going to show some of those cool reporting things that they offer in there that makes it easy to keep track of some of this stuff. Let's keep the technology leaders in charge. These particular people are very good at surveying the audience and making sure that any students that are having a lot of issues are brought back into the fray and are allowed to continue learning and fostering their utilization of the Chromebooks. And as I said, students need to be aware of the successes of a project like this as well. I'm going to go into the control panel. We got a bunch of graphs here. They don't mean very much to us right off the bat, but I want to show you, at no extra charge, Google Apps provides a nice area where they show all these different reports for us. And I'll show that in person right here. So if we go into the control panel, if you have the dashboard open, if you don't, you can just follow along on the screen. And if I go into this tab, which is appropriately titled Reports, there are all kinds of different graphs that we can have a look at. This particular, the first few graphs, they have them split up here. Email is not a very big deal to us right now, but perhaps down the road, once we start enabling email for staff and students, that will matter a little more for us. We have things like email activity. We have things that show us, how much email kids are actually sending, mail usage in terms of megabytes, how much they're transmitting, login activity. This could be of importance as well. So once we get this Chromebook project going, this graph should start shooting up here, especially our 7-day login activity. As we can see here, we had a big jump just a few days ago as we were setting up all these accounts, but we should start seeing these numbers keep rising as we have all these different students logging into the devices. So and likewise, we can go ahead and watch over tools that we think people aren't using as heavily. So what would be the reason that Docs would be used so heavily, but our Google Calendar usage was dropping? So a lot of these different questions you can ask, and the numbers are pretty easily reported here. All you have to do is log in, and anyone with access to the Google Apps control panel can go ahead and view these things. Here's another neat one. Google Docs has a lot of neat reports here. Collaboration summary. We can see the number of people that are collaborating on documents and how many people are actually creating documents. Are one of these figures lopsided compared to the other? Total number of documents that are being created by students and staff. Is there a majority of spreadsheets being created? Are we having people starting to use Google Forms in the district? A lot of good information that is presented here. Average number of users a document is shared with. So right now our average is, drop down. We were almost at 6.5 people per document. Just a lot of neat, in-depth things we can see there. And mobile devices, and this is where I kind of felt that Google didn't do the Chromebooks justice, but I would like to see Google add in a Chromebooks graph here. What are the number of Chromebooks being used? Number of Chromebooks being used in the last 30 days and the last 7 days. They don't have that capability in here just yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to be including a nice graph here that shows us the login activity of all the different Chromebooks in the district.
Maybe they'll just add it to this device by OS.
Yeah. Hopefully that'll be it. And for some reason, we're not seeing any statistics on here. And I think the reason for that is because this tracks. I think this only tracks devices that are being strictly managed through Google Apps.
Yeah, because I've got a bunch because that's what we're doing with our tablets.
So you probably see this graph go up pretty steadily, and hopefully they include a category right there for Chromebooks.
Yeah.
So That would be very, very neat. And there's more advanced things you can do. There's additional reports that you can set up, and you can export a lot of these reports for yourself, summaries and email clients report, and you can see how much disk space is being used. Maybe some of this stuff might not be useful, but down the road, who knows?
I think the doc thing sounds neat. My graph looks really cool.
What was that? For the docs?
I have the docs viewed by type.
Oh, this one here?
I have a very interesting graph.
Yeah, you can actually see also how many uploaded files there are as well. When we were talking about, using Google Docs as a place to store all these different files. And there's actually a functionality that a lot of teachers ask about at our district, because we used to have a thing called Digital Dropbox, and it was called the M Drive. Everyone was all up in arms when we took away the M Drive last year, because a lot of teachers have utilized this to drop, multimedia files and different projects kids were creating. The English teachers loved the Word documents just being dumped in there. So this was like a Windows version of Google Docs, submitting assignments over Google Docs.
But they never cleaned it out?
That was a big part of the problem. We had to take it away because no one ever cleaned it out. It got messy. Teachers consistently always wanted more and more space. If a gig wasn't enough, they wanted 2 gigs. 2 gigs wasn't enough. Well, I need more space. I need 5 gigs. And we don't have unlimited storage space, so this wasn't very plausible. But with Google Docs, every student now has 1 gigabyte of storage space within their Google Docs account. Why not use that as a storage medium and have them, if they want to share out their Google Docs, that's unlimited. There's no limit to the number of docs they can share. But if they need to share out PDFs or audio files or video projects that they create, that's all I tell them. Upload it to Google Docs and have them share it with you. That's all I say. There's no more M Drive. We don't have that access anymore. And, once you sort of, wring people's arms and tell them that this is, the way that, we're going to have to start using the product, they start working with you. And now, all these people that were, really hesitant and sort of snickered at me when I said, put it in Tub and put it in Google Docs, now they're thanking me and saying how much easier it is for these kids to be sharing in this manner. Because now the teacher doesn't have to sit there and manage all the, end results, all those, files, because when you have something like an M Drive or digital Dropbox, where kids are just dumping Word files into a drive letter on a network drive, someone has to manage that. Someone has to keep track of it. Teachers weren't doing it. Technology didn't want to do it, so who did? No one wanted to do it. This puts kids back in control of their work. One of the things I want to go into briefly in terms of how Google Apps can be used, this goes beyond the classroom. While we're trying to push the Chromebooks as, the 21st century classroom and all of that, Google Apps are very powerful in that they can do a lot more than just, typing assignments and having students submit their work to teachers in the classroom. We're using Google Apps in many different ways, not only in our district, but many other districts, and I want to show everyone a few examples of how we can even go further and start using this on a more district-wide level in terms of running the school, administering labs, all these different things. So I'm going to go show a few demos here. So first one is Google Calendar. I'm going to go ahead and launch.
You guys don't know this, but we actually do this.
Yeah, we do use it.
Yeah. Actually, our school district does that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've got one just like that.
Well, there you go. So here's our example. Here's our official Maine South High School calendar. It's not any kind of cryptic calendar. It's actually a Google Calendar that is embedded within this website. So all the parents and teachers and any community members want to go in and see what's going on in our school calendar. We have this calendar that was shared out by the principal, and I think him and the secretary have access to this, so all the different official events are put in here. And the nice part about it is, it's very easily updated. Instead of going ahead and creating, God forbid, calendars in Microsoft Word and sharing those out like we used to do years ago, you have something like this where changes made on the calendar, everyone sees it on the fly, live on the website at any given time. And we don't even have to log into the cryptic website that runs everything. We just update the calendar, and it gets posted right on the fly for everyone right off the bat. And this little button here, actually, it's on the screen. This plus Google Calendar button kids can go in if they want to add this calendar's events to their Google Calendar for their account. They can click on that button. It'll ask them, do you want to add this to your calendar? It'll add it right to their screen, and now they can go ahead and see events from the school calendar. They can have their own events on their calendar.
How'd you make that button?
It comes by default, actually.
By default.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's. I don't even think it's an option. I think by default it always shows on any calendar you embed. So ideally, a lot of teachers that have picked up Google Apps a lot more heavily. We have students now that are able to get all their homework calendars. So 7th period biology has its own Google Calendar for homework. 6th period math, and all these calendars are now on the student side. They log into their email, they open up their calendar, and they're seeing all this stuff pre-populating, so they don't have to do all the legwork with going and asking the teacher, hey, when is this due, or when did this assignment have to be turned in? It's all being provided to them on the fly in this digital form that can be accessed right on the Chromebook just as easily.
Oh no. Okay, 2 things today.
What was that?
Well, I'm thinking there's 2 things I'm going to take back that people are going to love.
Yeah, and the nice part about it, as I put in here, not only can it be shared with people, but it can also, we can embed it on that side, but you can embed that calendar on any website you'd like. So as I said, teachers are putting these class calendars right on their class web pages. So, the way you can directly implement this, you can have a class web page that loads for this classroom of Chromebooks. That class web page comes up. It's got the assignments listed out. It's got the classroom calendar on it. Teachers can link up Word documents or Google Docs right on there, and the kids can start working in that digital classroom right on day one. Here's an example of how Google Sites is being used. At West Point High School, I believe this is a high school from Alabama. I'm not 100% sure, but they decided to use Google Sites as their platform to run their entire school website.
Good, great. So even the artwork at the top of the page, you can do that?
Yeah.
It always looks sort of clunky whenever I started to do it. That looks better than
I mean, it all determines. I mean, it just depends on how nicely whoever is making the graphics,
You have to be artistic.
You have to be a little artistic to make a website look as nice as the professionals do, and it's a problem I have as well. But to do something like this, I would think would take no more than about, probably just the layout, the menus, and what we're seeing here. I would say no more than about 2 hours or so. To do this in something like Dreamweaver or any other professional product, 4 or 5 days at the very least. So things can be done very, very quickly here.
I'm just as bad on Dreamweaver.
Here's another nice thing about Google Sites. Universal search across your whole website is built right in. You don't have to do anything special. There's a search bar right at the top of any page. You can turn that on or off. If you don't want kids to be searching on there, you can turn that off. But it's very nice because any of the pages, any of the content on your website is now fully searchable as if you were on Google.com. It's pretty much the power of Google for your school or class website. I think it's pretty nice.
I thought that was odd for their homepage. Not sure that'd be.
What's the dangers of spice? Okay, I thought it was like a recipe.
And as you can see, they have all this multimedia embedded here. They have their map of their school embedded right on a Google map for everyone. There's their calendar embedded in agenda view. That's how they wanted to put it there. We have all these graphics. So you can really get creative with what you do on one of these sites.
What's the video?
Let's see. Some kind of animation. I guess it has to do possibly with their warrior.
It's created on
GoAnimate.com. We'll see how
Is that Google?
Welcome to West Point High School. West Point is a 5A school in Coleman County, Alabama.
As the Mighty Warriors, we compete in a variety of sports including football, basketball, volleyball, tennis, and more.
West Point places strong emphasis on academics.
Our cutting-edge science department offers a variety of challenging classes and labs. We are proud of our strong math background and our state champion math teams. West Point is at the forefront of technology, offering our students Google Apps and distance learning through Access.
We also have strong fine art classes including band, choir, visual arts, and TV production.
West Point offers tons of clubs and activities for everyone. Overall, West Point High School is a great place to learn. Find out more about our school at
Well,
westpointhigh.com.
they don't have necks or legs. They look like the wee people.
Welcome to West.
It's still very cute.
So there you go. They probably had students create that in one of the classes, and they went ahead and embedded it right into their website. And how would you know how to do that within Dreamweaver just a few years ago? So you can just see some of the different things. They have all their athletics posted up here that you can go to. So while not all the sub pages are going to be as flashy as maybe the home page,
Still looks pretty good.
Oh yeah.
they did a pretty decent job.
Free, yeah.
For a product that is comes completely free bundled with Google Apps, I think it does a pretty decent job. And then Google Forms. I didn't say much about this, but Google Forms is actually a subset of Google Docs, and Google Forms is a very powerful. Not only you can do surveys with it, you can do all kinds of data collection with it as well. So one high school in particular, Woodside High, they are using it for their emergency plan task force. I guess they were getting ideas and things over this form. So they went ahead and set this up, and I guess this is a survey that they're asking people to fill out for skills and talents that would be of assistance during an emergency. So people go ahead, they fill this out very quickly, and what you're seeing here, years ago this would have taken to get some sort of system that collects automatically like this going probably a few hours. To set up a form like this probably took them no more than 10 minutes to do. It fills in, populates a spreadsheet, and you can do whatever you want with that information.
Our principal did our lunch order. We sent out the form and then.
And you can embed this right into email. So maybe you wanted to ask kids a question first thing during the every class period. You could set up so this sends out an email to them. They fill out the information right in that message that gets sent to them, and then you get the information back. And if there was any kind of statistical data that could be presented, you can also take that data and present graphs right on the fly. Google Forms has built-in reporting functionality, and you can see pie charts, histograms. It's a very, very cool product. And I hope Michael goes into it a little bit tomorrow. There are some resources in terms of this whole process of going Google as we are. Google puts up some great resources that are available, and I'll link these out once we're finished here. They have user groups available for people just like yourselves that are in school districts and are looking for help amongst other educators and administrators that are going through these growing pains. And this is especially useful here, this apps user group. I found a lot of great information on the Chromebooks there myself. They have an educator's homepage available here. That's more of a high-level kind of informational website, but it has some good links on it as well. They have another discussion forum that's meant for Google Apps. This is more of a technical discussion forum. If you're talking about things that, usage in the classroom, integration with the lesson plans, you probably want to go over here. But this Google Apps discussion forum would be for things like technical issues you're having with Google Apps, or maybe something's broken, you don't know how to get this working with this particular product. The people that talk on this discussion board are very, very well versed in the product. And then they have a K-12 guide to going Google that includes a lot of neat things for how to implement different facets of Google Apps.
I know what I wanted to ask you earlier.
Sure.
You said the kids with their bookmark bars will just follow them wherever they go, and that's without having to download Google Bookmarks or anything?
Correct.
If you just set up your...
That is, well, if they're on the Chromebooks, it'll follow them within their Google Apps account on the Chromebook. When they go home, if they're going onto like a Windows machine or a Mac machine, there's an option within the settings area called Google Sync. And they just have to log into their school account right from there.
Right.
And it's like magic. You go, you click out of there, and zoop, it fills out all your bookmarks, all your...
Okay, so Google Sync is what they need
Google
to look
Sync
for.
is what they need to look for. But it's built right into Chrome. So if they have Chrome on their home computers, they have this capability.
Right.
And that's what's nice about that.
That's what's cool.
So some of the other things we can do to nurture the Chromebook classroom is reach out to other districts. I mean, this is what I did for, ever since John contacted me. I mean, I've been, I don't have that much experience, hands-on with these Chromebooks, but I've been talking to people and researching what these other districts have been doing. These are the primary big players that have really gone heavy with these Chromebooks, but there are more and more being added every single day. And, I was using Google a lot for my research, and you can definitely do the same if you want to get in touch with someone. So, for example, maybe a Chromebook classroom of math teachers, see what they're doing with these Chromebooks, or someone that's working in science and what kind of assignments or ways that they're using these Chromebooks. The information's out there. You just have to know where to get it. Google themselves. We have a few great contacts, and John is going to have all the information for everyone, including Steve, before we leave. Dana is someone that is on the Google Apps for Education software team. She's helped me out so many times in terms of getting answers on things. So you shouldn't ever feel that there's never an answer to your question, because someone either on the discussion board, someone at Google, or one of us, someone will have an answer for you on this. And if there is no answer, hopefully they'll be able to lead you in the right direction and tell you, okay, this is on the horizon, we're not planning on doing this, or at least get you some concrete faceted information. There are also some great conferences that are going on, actually. Michael was at the Google Apps Midwest Conference that was up in the Wisconsin Dells just about a month ago, actually, and everything was on Google Apps and Chromebooks, and teachers from across the country come over and give presentations, and you can learn about how to utilize this further in the classroom. They have all kinds of great ways that they're implementing it. You can learn about the technical side of things, or you can learn about the classroom integration side of it. And that was a great resource for us, because it was quite timely, because that was either the week before or week after when Michael went, when you contacted me about this. So it was a really great thing that he was able to go out to that. And also your personal learning network, blogs, Google, Facebook. Social media, kids are using it. We can use it just as much. I did a little reaching out to some friends that I have in the educational sector on Facebook, and they gave me some information before I came out here. You can definitely do the same if you have these kind of contacts. Any final questions on the scary process of moving to the Chromebooks?
And I know you said it, do you have any Chromebooks in your school district?
We have a limited deployment, yes. I personally don't manage them, but I've talked to the person that does manage them.
And to be candid with you, we've talked about this. These are free to us. This was all grant money. This is just an experiment. You've been experimenting in the school district longer than we have. What would if you had $100,000, would you invest in more laptops, tablet devices, or devices like this?
I'm probably going to say, with a little bit of hesitation, I'd probably still say the Chromebooks. And the reason being is that from what I've heard from the manager that does handle the Chromebooks in those classrooms, I mean, he's pretty much said, and he tells it like it is to me. He said, other than unboxing them, other than putting them in the hands of students, and there's a few issues with kids not charging them for a few days, there have been very little to no technical issues with these devices. Look at the other side, where every school has laptop carts that kids are using. We have computer labs and all of that, but laptop carts that a lot of the science teachers like to use, and similar kind of environment where the kids are using devices that are being shared between periods. Consistently, the Chromebooks are working out a lot better for them. Less issues, easier to use, hands-off approach to management. In terms of the hardware itself, obviously if you want to get into software management and watching over all the extensions and apps that are used, yes. But comparing it to the way we have to manage all of our large fleet of Windows devices and a few Apple devices, this has been a walk in the park. And if we could take out all the Windows machines and give all the kids Chromebooks instead, if I was in the position of making that decision, I would probably do it. I probably would.
But what would keep you from doing it? You almost said almost.
Some of the Wi-Fi issues I'm seeing right now over here, we haven't, for some reason, we haven't been seeing that problem over at our district. I believe those Chromebooks are on our guest network, and our guest network is pretty, easygoing. It's very open. All devices really don't have any problems with it. So if Wi-Fi is as solid as we're seeing in our district, and if the 3G thing gets cleared up and kids truly can take that home as part of a one-to-one program where teachers are saying, okay, you're going to have to finish your homework assignment on your Chromebook, in your Google Apps account. If that truly becomes more seamless than it is right now, I think that is a big win.
So, but the Wi-Fi is going to cause you issues on your laptops too. I mean, so I'm just thinking, is the Google Chrome Wi-Fi issues worse than just the laptops?
I think that kind of the answer to that is it depends on your situation. At our district, they don't have a problem with the whole connection thing like I was seeing at the hotel room. But bigger problem we're having is that we have too many devices going onto a limited number of wireless boxes in the ceiling. And that's not even an issue of the Chromebooks. That's just a matter of the wireless boxes can't handle this many devices. You can't have every kid with a smartphone on wireless and expect all your laptops to work okay. We didn't envision that kind of change happening.
But if you're talking about the guest wireless thing, and you don't have a web key on it?
We don't. No web key.
So then everybody's
Correct.
phone can be on.
Yes, and that's poor implementation of the wireless. I'm not going to say that wasn't done poorly. So if you at least have some kind of password that is on that they have to type in, you're going to have much less of an issue in terms of phones that are just being brought in every day, connecting to the wireless.
For these guys to connect because they don't. Okay.
Tony, what's your hunch on this? I mean, I know we've installed all these AP. I mean, our goal was to have 2 APs in each classroom. I mean,
how many do we have?
There should be 2 in about each classroom in the area. That should be fine for the amount we're using right now, especially when you get 30 of them with load balancing. I think it would still be fine. Now, I don't know why we're having.
You said roughly 2 APs per classroom. We have about 1 AP for every 4 to 6 classrooms. You're in a much better position than we are. So. And almost all of our kids are bringing in smartphones every single day. And the fact that our wireless network does not have any kind of forced timeout, like I think happens over here on the guest, right? Is there a timeout?
So I might need to look on that on all of ours, maybe, if there's a timeout. So.
I would probably look into that. That's probably something you want to do. We couldn't do it because our administration said no, they wanted all their phones connecting automatically. It's a whole different issue. But if you do restrict how long someone can stay on your wireless network and how many devices can be on it at any given time, I don't think wireless is going to be as big of a problem as it is for us.
So this is new equipment. This is brand new.
Yeah, and our wireless was put in about 2004, so we were just when wireless was becoming big. So our devices are very old. I don't think Wi-Fi is going to be a problem. And you all have been on your Chromebooks the whole time. I haven't heard of one person really having many Wi-Fi issues, so.
Carmen was having some.
And I've logged in and logged out a few times.
A few times, okay. So there are a few issues going on, but for the most part,
that's the Chromebook. I still think that's something with that one.
And that's still.
If it's the same one. You would think if it was kind of it might trickle through when they go to. But I think it's just yours.
No, I don't think. Like I said, the wireless and internet speed are obviously the biggest technical limitations to rolling these out. But it wouldn't be any different than a laptop cart in every single classroom being utilized.
And the laptops are a pain because they're the same as the towers. You've got to keep them updated.
Yeah. Battery life is no better than about 4 or 5 hours on your best units. This is a full school day that you're getting.
And replacing batteries, we're there now, and they're costing us a fortune.
Batteries. Good that you bring that up because I didn't even put that in any of my slides. If you may have noticed, the devices don't have a replaceable battery on them. And that is one thing I want to bring up to Steve and ask him, what is the plan if your support runs out on the Chromebooks and you want to use them for 3 years, that battery's probably going to start getting shot at about 2.5, 3 years. What are your options? Does the Chromebook truly have to be tossed, or can we put a new battery into it? And that's something they don't have an answer yet.
The battery life is crazy impressive because when I sat down on this one, it was right when we started, it was only 50%. That's now just down to 34. I mean, it's very impressive.
Mine's down to 11, but I've been remoting over to different stuff, doing all the work while.
No, the battery life is very impressive. As I said, I didn't even hold back. I did a normal work day's worth of work on my Art Test Chromebook that you sent us. I didn't hold back on it. I used it all day as I normally would my regular laptop that I have to charge, at least once or twice, and I didn't have to plug in at all, even on a bad day. A lot of email, a lot of Wi-Fi, on and off, different websites.
But it's new too, and I know our problem stems from the on-off thing. They plug them in, it's used a little bit, it gets plugged in, it's used a little bit, it gets plugged in.
But now that won't be as big of an issue, because if the kid is able to use it all day and is only plugging in ideally one time at the end of the day, and then unplugging it for the use the next day, compare that to a laptop card, where laptops are, if we have a classroom utilizing a laptop card, teachers are plugging in those laptops every single period, because that's the kind of life they're getting out of them.
Right.
So that is a lot of drain recharge that is being done on those. We have a lot of Dell laptops, so we're replacing batteries every year and a half or so on those things.
That's what we do, and it's just sheer use that's the problem.
So if we have a laptop that truly doesn't have to get that plug-in 4, 5, 6 times a day, and the kids can just open it, use it, shut it down. I really think that's going to drop that power draining issue in terms of the plugging in, plugging out on traditional laptops.
So and I know this is sort of off the wall, but as we go through and initiate them, do you think it's best if we do, just as far as your opinion, I realize you haven't rolled them out, is it best to go through and do them all at one time? Or since these have never, we've got 100 in boxes around here that have never been.
This is where we need to take into account the fact that it's going to kill that internet if we do too many at once. So my recommendation is, let's not enroll no more than about 10 at a time, 10, 15 at a time. You're not going to get a pack of 30, 40, 50 on at once. Yeah. Pulling updates from Google, it's not going to happen. Okay. Everyone's going to choke. You're going to have to restart the devices. It's not going to be pretty. So I would keep it to about 10, 15 devices at a time.
Well, when I did, and I only did one, it didn't take long.
And you screwed up again.
Yeah, that was time number 2. The first time I did it went really quick and I went wrong, but the second time, it may have taken 2 minutes. So, tell me, what was your recollection when you were doing it?
How long did I spend on K that one afternoon whenever you asked me to have them set up? It probably took me just an hour to do the 90. That's what I was doing other things too.
The box and the cords out.
Did it show you though, Tony, when it was pulling the update before you rolled? Did they tell you?
It was at some point in the process.
Okay. And you said per device, how long was that time period when it was pulling the update?
Oh, it didn't take very long at all. Okay. I would go over and start opening another one or do something else while I was sitting there, so I didn't really pay too much attention.
Yeah, but obviously if we start making that 20, 30 devices, that's where that process is going to get compounded. So 10, 15 at a time is probably a good number.
Did you have to charge them before, Tony?
I just plugged them in right away. I had like 2 set up, 2 chargers plugged in. Just did one.
I didn't know what kind of charge they came with.
I think there's a base charge. I don't think it's full.
To do it.
We just got ours going and we're waiting for our cart.
That's exactly right. That cart deal. Well,
are they sending over that the Chromebook card?
Yeah, I told them we can't wait. They'll still send the freebies, supposedly, theoretically, but we went from weeks. They've been saying that for weeks. next week. So yeah. So we went ahead and ordered another option as far as a laptop card. I don't know if there's anything special about that other than it says Chromebook.
No, I don't really think there is. Actually, I was reading up on how to do storage management on the devices because I know that every district's not going to be able to get that card for all the devices. Yeah. Actually, a lot of teachers were using the old metal cabinets. Supposedly, the size of the metal cabinets, the drawers is perfect to put Chromebooks right into. So a lot of teachers were showing how they were dropping them right in the drawers, and you can get like 15 or 20 to each drawer, close it, lock it, and there's your management for storage. So
I've got an old Dreamwriter cabinet from way back when that had the slots, and these fit perfectly in it. So
we've got new ones ordered, so hopefully they'll be here by the time we're ready to go.
Any last questions? If not, we can go into. We're at about 2:45. Michael's probably going to go until about 3:10. So if we want to pop in there and catch any of the rest of what he's got going on Google Apps.
Here's
there's how I actually come up with